Dr. Harrison stood in the hallway, his voice echoing off the sterile walls. "You're fired, Nurse Carter. Pack your things." Sarah didn't flinch. She'd heard threats before. Different uniforms, different countries, different stakes. Outside, black SUVs rolled into the hospital parking lot. Men in dark suits moved with purpose. One wore an earpiece. Another carried a briefcase with a seal she recognized. Dr. Harrison didn't see them yet. He was still talking, still threatening. Sarah glanced at her watch. 30 seconds. The elevator doors opened at the end of the hall. Everything was about to change. Sarah Carter had been a nurse at St. Michael's Hospital for 11 months. She worked the night shift in the ICU. She never complained, never missed a shift, never asked questions that made Dr. Marcus Harrison uncomfortable. "You overstepped," he said, his face red with anger. "You administered medication without consulting me. You made decisions above your pay grade." Sarah stood with her hands folded. Her scrubs were crisp. Her expression was calm. "The patient was coding. You were in surgery. I made the call. That's not your call to make." Dr. Harrison stepped closer. His cologne was expensive. His ego was bigger. "You're a nurse. You follow orders. You don't give them." The patient had lived. Sarah had used a drug protocol most nurses wouldn't recognize. Most doctors wouldn't either. It came from a manual she'd memorized in a different life. In a concrete building in Langley, under fluorescent lights that never turned off. "I understand," Sarah said quietly. "Do you?" Dr. Harrison crossed his arms. "Because this isn't the first time. Last month, you sedated a combative patient using a technique I've never seen. 2 weeks ago, you identified a toxin in a blood panel that our lab missed. Who are you?" Sarah met his eyes. She didn't blink. "I'm a nurse. You're fired." He said it like a judge delivering a sentence. "Human resources will process your termination. Security will escort you out." Sarah nodded once. She turned toward the nurse's station. That's when the elevator chimed. The doors slid open. 4 men stepped out. They wore dark suits, white shirts, thin ties. Their shoes were polished to a mirror shine. One of them scanned the hallway with eyes that missed nothing. Dr. Harrison noticed them. His irritation shifted to confusion. "Can I help you?" The lead man ignored him. He walked directly to Sarah. "Section Chief Carter." The hallway went silent. Sarah's jaw tightened. She didn't turn around. "Not here. We have a situation." The man's voice was low, professional, final. "We need you now." Dr. Harrison stepped forward. "Excuse me. This is a hospital. You can't just..." The man reached into his jacket. He pulled out a badge. Black leather, gold seal. 3 letters that made Dr. Harrison's face go pale. CIA. "This floor is now under federal jurisdiction," the man said. "Clear the area," Dr. Harrison stammered. "You can't. This is now." The word was sharp, cold. It left no room for argument. Nurses scattered. Patients' family members were ushered into rooms. Security guards appeared, but they didn't move toward the men in suits. They moved toward the exits, guiding people out. Clearing the floor, Sarah finally turned. Her expression hadn't changed, but something in her posture had. The slight hunch of a tired nurse was gone. Her shoulders were square. Her spine was steel. "What's the situation?" she asked. The man leaned closer. "Bioweapon. Airborne. Patient 0 is 2 floors down." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Containment. Partial. The ER is locked down. But we have a breach in the ventilation system. If it spreads, we're looking at 200 casualties. Maybe more." Dr. Harrison stood frozen. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Sarah looked at him once. Then back at the agent. "I need full access. No interference. You have it." She pulled the lanyard from around her neck. Her hospital ID hung there. She dropped it on the floor, and just like that, the humble nurse was gone. If you want to see what happens when the truth comes out, hit that subscribe button now. Because this story is just getting started. Sarah moved fast. Her soft-soled shoes made no sound on the tile floor. The agents followed her to the stairwell. Dr. Harrison stumbled after them. Wait, what is happening? Who are you people? No one answered. Sarah descended to flights. Her mind was already working through protocols, containment, identification, neutralization. She'd done this before. Once in Kabul, once in Berlin, once in a subway station in Tokyo. That officially never happened. The ER was chaos. Doctors shouted orders. Nurses ran between beds. Patients coughed. Monitors beeped. And in the center of it all, a single patient lay on a gurney. His skin was pale. His breathing was shallow. His eyes were glassy. A hazmat team surrounded him. Yellow suits, clear visors, sealed gloves. Sarah approached the perimeter. A doctor in full protective gear looked up. Who the hell are you? The lead agent stepped forward. She's in charge. Like hell she is. I'm the ER chief. This is my— Sarah cut him off. What are his symptoms? The doctor hesitated. Then his professionalism overrode his ego. Respiratory distress, hemorrhaging from the eyes and nose. Rapid onset. We've got 3 more presenting with similar symptoms. When did it start? 40 minutes ago. Patient 0 came in, complaining of flu-like symptoms. Then he crashed. Sarah moved closer. She studied the patient through the plastic containment barrier. His veins were dark beneath his skin. His lips were blue. She'd seen this before. Not exactly this. But close enough? It's engineered, she said quietly. The room went cold. What? The chief stared at her. This isn't natural. The progression is too fast. The symptoms are too specific. Sarah turned to the lead agent. Do we have a sample? He nodded. Lab is running it now. I need to see the results. And I need the ventilation system shut down. Now, Dr. Harrison finally found his voice. You can't shut down the ventilation. We have patients on life support. We have— Sarah looked at him. Really looked at him. Her eyes were sharp, cold. The eyes of someone who'd made harder choices than he could imagine. If we don't shut it down, everyone in this hospital dies, including your patients. The words hung in the air like smoke. The chief swallowed hard. Who are you? Sarah didn't answer. She pulled a phone from her pocket. Not her personal phone. A secure device she kept in her locker, encrypted, untraceable. She dialed a number from memory. It rang. Once Carter. The voice on the other end was clipped. Military status. We have a level 4 bioweapon. Hospital setting. Containment is failing. I need a full CBRN team and a medical evacuation unit. 30 minutes, you'll have it in 20. She hung up. The agents were already moving. One spoke into his radio. Another pulled out a tablet. A third began coordinating with hospital security. Sarah turned to the ER chief. I need every patient who came into contact with patient 0 isolated. I need a list of everyone who touched him. Everyone who breathed the same air. And I need it 5 minutes ago. He nodded. Stunned. Compliant Dr. Harrison grabbed her arm. Sarah, Nurse Carter, what is this? What are you? She pulled her arm free. Gently, firmly. Right now, I'm the only thing standing between this hospital and a body count you can't imagine. So get out of my way. He stepped back. Sarah moved to a computer terminal. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She pulled up the hospital's HVAC system. Zones, airflow, filtration. She isolated the ER, cut the airflow. Sealed it off. Alarms blared. Override code, she said to the agent. He rattled off a 12-digit number. Sarah entered it. The alarm stopped. The ER was now a tomb, sealed, contained, safe. For now, Sarah's phone buzzed. A text. Lab results. She opened the file. Her blood went cold. The bioweapon was military grade. Russian design, modified, weaponized, and it was already spreading. The CBRN team arrived in 18 minutes. Sarah heard them before she saw them. Heavy boots on linoleum, the hiss of air tanks, the crackle of radios. They came through the loading dock entrance. 12 specialists in full hazmat suits. Mobile containment units. Decontamination showers. Equipment that didn't exist in any hospital catalog. A woman led the team. Tall, broad shoulders. Her voice carried authority even through the respirator. Section Chief Carter. Sarah met her at the entrance to the ER. Major Reeves. Give me the Citrop. 4 confirmed infections. Russian bioweapon. Modified VX nerve agent bonded with a hemorrhagic fever. Airborne transmission. Incubation period is less than 30 minutes. Mortality rate is 100% without the antidote. Major Reeves didn't flinch. Do we have the antidote? No, then what do we have? Sarah pulled up the lab results on a tablet. We have the molecular structure. And we have 12 hours before this spreads beyond containment. 12 hours to synthesize an antidote from scratch? No. Sarah's voice was ice. 12 hours to find out who released it and where they're keeping the cure. Major Reeves understood immediately. This wasn't a medical crisis. It was an operation. The ER chief overheard. You're saying someone did this on purpose? Here, in my hospital. Sarah turned to him. Patient 0. What do you know about him? John Doe. No ID. No insurance. He walked in complaining of respiratory issues. Security footage? I'll get it, Rand. Sarah looked at the containment area. The 4 infected patients were deteriorating fast. Nurses in hazmat suits tried to keep them stable. But there was only so much they could do. Without the antidote, these people had ours. Maybe less. Dr. Harrison stood near the wall. His face was pale. His hands shook. This can't be real. This is a hospital. We save lives. You're not equipped for this, Sarah said flatly. That's why we're here. Major Reeves began directing her team. Containment units went up. Air scrubbers hummed to life. Decon showers were assembled in the hallway. Every person who'd been in the ER was quarantined, tested, monitored. Sarah's phone buzzed. A video file. Security footage. She opened it. Patient 0 entered the ER at 9:47 p.m. He was alone. He wore a baseball cap pulled low. Sunglasses. A jacket despite the warm weather. He approached the triage desk. Spoke to the nurse. Coughed once, twice. Then he sat down in the waiting area. Sarah zoomed in on his face. The sunglasses hid his eyes, but his jawline was visible. The set of his shoulders. The way he moved, she recognized him. Her blood turned to ice. I need a secure line, she said. Now, an agent handed her a satellite phone. She dialed a number she'd hoped never to use again. It rang 4 times. Then a voice answered. Deep, accented, Russian. Fight, Sarah. Why? She closed her eyes. Dmitri, you sound surprised. I should have known it was you. Low chuckle. You always were smart. Too smart for your own good? Where's the antidote? Straight to business. No pleasantries. People are dying. Yes, they are. His voice was calm, pleasant, like he was discussing the weather. And they will continue to die unless you do exactly as I say. Sarah's grip on the phone tightened. What do you want? There is a man in federal custody. His name is Viktor Sokolov. He is being held at a black site in Virginia. You will arrange for his release. You have 6 hours. That's impossible, and people die. Starting with your patients. Then, the hospital staff. Then the surrounding neighborhood. The ventilation breach you sealed? It's not the only one. Sarah's heart stopped. You have more? I have 3 additional devices, planted throughout the hospital. If I don't receive confirmation of Victor's release, I activate them remotely, and St. Michael's becomes a graveyard. The line went dead. Sarah stood frozen. Her mind raced. Viktor Sokolov was a Russian intelligence officer. He'd been captured 6 months ago during a Black Ops mission in Syria. He had information on sleeper cells, weapons caches, targets. Releasing him would cost lives. American lives, but not releasing him would cost lives too. Right here. Right now, Dr. Harrison stepped closer. What did he say? Sarah looked at him. For the first time, he saw something in her eyes. Not fear, but something close. The weight of impossible choices. He wants a prisoner exchange, she said quietly. Then give it to him. It's not that simple. Major Reeves approached. Orders, ma'am. Sarah took a breath. She'd been in impossible situations before. Kabul, Berlin, Tokyo. She'd always found a way. Always completed the mission. Always brought her people home. But this time felt different. This time, she was choosing who lived and who died. Get me the CIA director, she said. Now, the call connected in 90 seconds. Sarah stood in a commandeered office. The door was closed. 2 agents stood guard outside. Major Reeves waited nearby. Through the window, she could see the yellow hazmat suits. The dying patients. Carter. The voice was sharp. Familiar. Director Ellen Graves didn't waste words. I'm reading the briefing now. Russian bioweapon. For infected. Demands for Viktor Sokolov's release. Yes, ma'am. And you believe the threat is credible? Dmitry Volkov doesn't bluff. A pause. Sarah could hear papers rustling. A keyboard clicking. Director Graves was pulling files. Reading, analyzing. Volkov is Spetsnaz. Former GRU. He's been off the grid for 2 years. We thought he was dead. So did I, but you know him. It wasn't a question. Sarah's jaw tightened. I ran an op in Chechnya 7 years ago. Volkov was our target. We missed him by 6 hours. He's smart, patient, and he keeps his promises. Which means if we don't release Sokolov, he'll activate those devices. Yes, another pause. Longer this time? How many people are in that hospital? Director Graves asked. 412. Patients and staff. And if the bioweapon spreads beyond the hospital, the surrounding neighborhood has a population of 8,000. Containment would be impossible. We'd be looking at mass casualties within 24 hours. Director Graves exhaled slowly. You're asking me to release a Russian intelligence officer? A man who has operational knowledge of attacks on U.S. soil? A man whose freedom could cost American lives? I'm not asking, ma'am. I'm presenting you with the situation. What's your assessment section, Chief? Sarah looked out the window again. A nurse was adjusting an IV for one of the infected patients. Her hands were steady, professional. She had no idea she was looking at a biological time bomb. No idea that her life hung in the balance of a conversation happening 3 floors up. We don't negotiate with terrorists, Sarah said quietly. That's the rule. That's the policy. But policy doesn't account for 400 innocent people. So you're recommending we make the exchange? No, ma'am. Silence. Explain. Sarah turned away from the window. Her voice dropped. Volkov wants us to believe we have no choice. But he made a mistake. He told me there are 3 additional devices. That means he's still here. Close enough to activate them remotely. Close enough to watch. Director Graves caught on immediately. You want to find him. I want to eliminate the threat. Permanently. You have 6 hours. I only need 4. Another pause. Then, Director Graves spoke with the weight of command. You have operational authority. Full support. Whatever you need. But Carter, if you fail, I'm making the exchange. I won't let 400 people die for the sake of policy. Understood. And Carter, don't fail. The line went dead. Sarah stepped out of the office. Major Reeves straightened. Ma'am, we're going hunting, Sarah said. I need surveillance footage from every camera within a 2-mile radius. Traffic cams, ATMs, security systems, everything. And I need a tactical team. 6 operators. Best you have. What are we looking for? A ghost. 20 minutes later, Sarah stood in the hospital's security office. Monitors covered the wall. Dozens of them. Each one showing a different angle. A different street. A different moment. She studied them with the focus of a predator. There, she pointed to a screen. Rewind 30 seconds. The security guard complied. The footage rolled backward, then played forward. A white van. Nondescript. Commercial plates. It drove past the hospital, slowed near the east entrance, then continued down the street. Zoom in on the driver. The image pixelated. Then sharpened. The driver wore a maintenance uniform. A cap, but the angle was wrong. The posture was too rigid. Too controlled. Sarah knew that posture. "That's him," she said. "Are you sure?" Major Reeves asked. "I'm sure." The van appeared on 3 more cameras. Each time, it circled the hospital. Watching, waiting. Sarah traced its route on a map. It ended at a warehouse 6 blocks away. Abandoned. Off the grid. Perfect for a temporary command post. She pulled out her phone. Dialed the tactical team. "This is Carter. I have a target location. I need a fast trope insertion. No sirens. No lights. We go in silent." "Copy that. ETA 12 minutes. Sarah looked at Dr. Harrison. He'd followed her into the security office. His face was pale. His hands still shook. "You're going after him," he said. "Yes, if you don't find him." Sarah didn't answer. She didn't need to. The truth was written on her face. If she didn't find Dmitry Volkov, hundreds of people would die, including the arrogant chief of medicine who'd tried to fire her 3 hours ago. The irony wasn't lost on her. The warehouse sat in darkness. Sarah approached from the south. 6 operators moved with her. They wore black, tactical gear. Night vision goggles. Suppressed weapons. They communicated through hand signals. Silent, efficient, deadly. Sarah carried a Sig Sauer P2-6. It felt familiar in her grip, like shaking hands with an old friend. She hadn't fired a weapon in 11 months. Not since she'd taken the nursing job. Not since she'd tried to leave this life behind. But this life had a way of finding her. The team stacked up at the entrance. Sarah checked her watch. 3 hours and 42 minutes since Volkov's call. Time was running out, she signaled. Breach. The door exploded inward. Flashbangs followed. Blinding light. Deafening noise. The team poured through. The warehouse was empty. No, not empty. Sarah's eyes adjusted. She saw equipment, laptops, monitors, a communication array. And in the center of the room, a single chair. Someone had been here. Recently, the laptop screen was still warm. Clear, one of the operators called Sarah, moved to the laptop. The screen showed a live feed. 4 camera angles, all inside St. Michael's Hospital. All focused on different locations. The additional bioweapon devices, she studied the feeds. One camera showed the cafeteria. Another showed the main lobby. The third showed the parking garage. The fourth showed the ICU, Sarah's ICU, where she'd worked for 11 months, where she'd saved lives, where she'd pretended to be normal. "He's watching," she said quietly. "Ma'am." Major Reeves spoke through her earpiece. "Volkov knows we're here. He left the laptop for us to find. He's testing us. What do we do?" Sarah's mind raced. Volkov was Spetsnaz. He thought 3 moves ahead. He'd anticipated the raid. He'd planned for it. Which meant the real command center was somewhere else. But where? She looked at the camera feeds again. For different locations? For different angles? But one thing connected them. One thing Volkov couldn't resist? Symmetry. Sarah pulled out her phone. She opened the hospital's floor plan. Overlaid the camera positions. Drew lines between them. The lines intersected at a single point. The hospital chapel. "I've got him," she said. "He's in the chapel. 3rd floor. East wing." The team moved. The chapel was quiet. Sarah entered alone, her weapon raised, her breathing steady. The pews were empty. Candles flickered near the altar. Stained glass windows filtered moonlight into colors: red, blue, gold. Dmitry. Volkov sat in the front row. He was older than Sarah remembered. Gray touched his temples. Lines marked his face, but his eyes were the same. Cold, calculating, amused. "Sarah," he said without turning. Right on time. Stand up. Hands where I can see them, he chuckled. Still so direct. I always admired that about you, I said. Stand up. He raised his hand slowly, stood, turned to face her. He wore a simple black suit, no weapons visible. But Sarah knew better. Volkov was always armed, always dangerous. You found my little setup in the warehouse, he said. Impressive. Most would have wasted time searching for me there. Where are the devices? Do you really think I'll tell you? I think you will, because you're surrounded. You have no leverage, and you're going to prison either way. Volkov smiled. Am I? He pulled a phone from his pocket. Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. One move, she said. That's all you get. Relax. I'm not activating anything. I'm showing you something. He turned the phone screen toward her. A timer, counting down. 2 hours and 18 minutes remaining. Even if you kill me, Volkov said. The devices activate automatically. Unless I enter a code every 4 hours. Which I haven't done in 2 hours and 42 minutes. Sarah's blood ran cold. So here's my offer, Volkov continued. You release Viktor Sokolov. I enter the code. Everyone lives. Or you arrest me. I go to prison, and 400 people die. Your choice. The chapel fell silent. Sarah's mind worked through scenarios. Torture wouldn't work. Volkov was trained to resist. Threats were meaningless. He'd accepted death a long time ago. And they couldn't defuse the devices without knowing their exact locations. She was trapped. Or was she? Sarah lowered her weapon. Slightly. Chechnya, she said. 7 years ago, you had a daughter. Volkov's smile faltered. Anya, Sarah continued. She was 16. Studying medicine in Moscow. You kept her photograph in your wallet? I saw it when we raided your safe house. What's your point? My point is, you're not a monster. You're a soldier. A father. And fathers don't kill children. There are no children in this hospital. There are 3. Pediatric ICU. 5th floor. One of them is 6 years old. Leukemia. She's been here for 4 months. Her name is Emma. Volkov's jaw tightened. If you activate those devices, Sarah said quietly, Emma dies. And you'll have to live with that. Every day. For the rest of your life, you'll see her face. Just like you see Anya's. Silence. Volkov's hand trembled. Just slightly. Just enough. Give me the code, Sarah said, and I'll make sure Viktor gets a fair trial. Not a black site. Not a cage. A real trial. With real lawyers. That's the best deal you're going to get. Eh? Volkov looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time, she saw something human in his eyes. Something tired. Something broken. You're lying, he said. I'm not. Prove it. Sarah holstered her weapon. Slowly, deliberately. She stood there, unarmed, vulnerable. I'm trusting you, she said. Now you trust me. Volkov stared at her for 10 seconds. 20. 30. Then he picked up the phone. Entered a code. The timer stopped. The sun rose over St. Michael's Hospital at 6:47. M. Sarah stood in the parking lot. Her scrubs were gone. She wore tactical pants. A black jacket. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was clean. No makeup, no disguise. Just her. Behind her, agents led Dmitry Volkov to a black SUV. His hands were cuffed. His head was down. But before they put him in the vehicle, he looked back at her. Nodded once, she nodded back. The bioweapon devices were recovered. All 4 of them deactivated. Secured. The antidote was synthesized from Volkov's personal supply. He had carried it in a vial around his neck. The 4 infected patients received treatment. They would live. Dr. Marcus Harrison stood near the ambulance bay. He watched the federal vehicles, the hazmat teams, the tactical operators. His world had shattered in the span of one night. Sarah walked toward him. He didn't speak. Couldn't speak. I'm sorry, she said finally. For what? For lying. For For the last 11 months, I was never just a nurse. Dr. Harrison shook his head slowly. Who are you? Before Sarah could answer, the sound of helicopter rotors filled the air. A Black Hawk descended toward the hospital's helipad. Wind whipped across the parking lot. Dust swirled. The helicopter landed. The door opened. A woman stepped out, tall, gray hair, expensive suit. Her presence commanded attention. Demanded respect, Director Ellen Graves. She walked directly toward Sarah. Every doctor, every nurse, every hospital administrator stopped and stared. Dr. Harrison's face went white. Is that the CIA director? Sarah confirmed. Director Graves stopped 3 feet away. She looked at Sarah with the expression of a commander seeing there. Soldier returned from battle. Pride, relief, something. Almost maternal. Then she did something that made Dr. Harrison's jaw drop. She saluted. Section Chief Carter. Director Graves said formally. Well done. Sarah returned the salute. Sharp, precise, military. Thank you, ma'am. Director Graves turned to the gathered crowd. Hospital staff had filtered outside. They'd heard rumors, whispers. Now they stood in stunned silence. For those who don't know, Director Graves said, her voice carrying across the parking lot. Sarah Carter's a section chief with the Central Intelligence Agency. She holds the rank equivalent to a Navy captain. She has served this country for 14 years. She has operated in 17 countries. She has saved countless lives. And for the last 11 months, she has been undercover in this hospital, protecting you, watching for threats, ensuring your safety. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Dr. Harrison stared at Sarah. 11 months. You were watching us? Watching for threats, Sarah corrected. We had intelligence that suggested a foreign operative might target this hospital. We were right in the nursing. The shifts, the patients. That was real, Sarah said quietly. Every patient I treated, every life I saved, that was real. Director Graves checked her watch. Section Chief, we need to debrief. There are questions about Volkov's network, his contacts, his resources. Yes, ma'am. But before Sarah could leave, a small voice called out, Sarah. The sun rose over St. Michael's Hospital at 6:47 a.m. Sarah stood in the parking lot. Her scrubs were gone. She wore tactical pants, a black jacket. Her hair was pulled back. Her face was clean. No makeup, no disguise. Just her. Behind her, agents led Dmitry Volkov to a black SUV. His hands were cuffed. His head was down. But before they put him in the vehicle, he looked back at her. Nodded once, she nodded back. The bioweapon devices were recovered. All 4 of them deactivated. Secured. The antidote was synthesized from Volkov's personal supply. He had carried it in a vial around his neck. The 4 infected patients received treatment. They would live. Dr. Marcus Harrison stood near the ambulance bay. He watched the federal vehicles, the hazmat teams, the tactical operators. His world had shattered in the span of one night. Sarah walked toward him. He didn't speak, couldn't speak. I'm sorry, she said finally. For what? For lying. For the last 11 months, I was never just a nurse. Dr. Harrison shook his head slowly. Who are you? Before Sarah could answer, the sound of helicopter rotors filled the air. A Black Hawk descended toward the hospital's helipad. Wind whipped across the parking lot. Dust swirled. The helicopter landed. The door opened. A woman stepped out. Tall, gray hair. Expensive suit. Her presence commanded attention. Demanded respect. Director Ellen Graves. She walked directly toward Sarah. Every doctor, every nurse, every hospital administrator stopped and stared. Dr. Harrison's face went white. Is that the CIA director? Sarah confirmed. Director Graves stopped 3 feet away. She looked at Sarah. With the expression of a commander seeing their soldier return from battle, pride, relief, something almost maternal. Then she did something that made Dr. Harrison's jaw drop. She saluted. Section Chief Carter, Director Graves said formally. Well done. Sarah returned the salute. Sharp, precise, military. Thank you, ma'am. Director Graves turned to the gathered crowd. Hospital staff had filtered outside. They'd heard rumors, whispers. Now they stood in stunned silence. For those who don't know, Director Graves said, her voice carrying across the parking lot, Sarah Carter is a section chief with the Central Intelligence Agency. She holds the rank equivalent to a Navy captain. She has served this country for 14 years. She has operated in 17 countries. She has saved countless lives. And for the last 11 months, she has been undercover in this hospital, protecting you, watching for threats, ensuring your safety. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Dr. Harrison stared at Sarah. 11 months. You were watching us? Watching for threats, Sarah corrected. We had intelligence that suggested a foreign operative might target this hospital. We were right in the nursing, the shifts, the patients. That was real, Sarah said quietly. Every patient I treated, every life I saved, that was real. Director Graves checked her watch. Section Chief, we need a debrief. There are questions about Volkov's network. His contacts. His resources. Yes, ma'am. But before Sarah could leave, a small voice called out. Sarah. She turned. A little girl stood at the hospital entrance. Emma, the 6-year-old with leukemia. Her mother held her hand. The girl wore a hospital gown. An IV pole stood beside her, but she was smiling. Sarah walked over, knelt down. Hi, Emma. Are you really a spy? Sarah smiled. A real smile. The first one in ours? Something like that. That's so cool. Emma's eyes were wide, bright, full of wonder, despite everything she'd been through. Thank you for saving us. Sarah's throat tightened. She reached out and gently touched the girl's hand. You're very brave, Emma. Braver than me. No way. You're a superhero. So are you, Emma giggled. Her mother wiped tears from her eyes. Sarah stood. She nodded to the mother, then walked back to Director Graves. As they moved toward the helicopter, Dr. Harrison called out, Sarah, Section Chief, wait. She stopped. He approached slowly. His earlier arrogance was gone, replaced with something else. Humility. Respect. I tried to fire you, he said. I called you insubordinate. I questioned your decisions. You were doing your job. I was being an ass. He extended his hand. I'm sorry, and thank you. Sarah shook his hand. You're a good doctor, Marcus. Keep saving lives. That's what matters. She turned and walked to the helicopter. Major Reeves stood nearby. She saluted as Sarah passed. Other agents did the same. One by one, a line of professionals showing respect to their leader. Sarah climbed into the Black Hawk. Director Graves sat across from her. The rotors spun faster. The helicopter lifted off. Through the window, Sarah watched the hospital grow smaller. She saw the staff, the patients, the place where she'd been nobody for 11 months, where she'd changed bedpans and administered medication and pretended to be ordinary. But she'd never been ordinary, and everyone knew it now. Director Graves leaned forward. How do you feel? Sarah thought about the question, about the mission, about Volkov, about Emma, about the choice she'd made to trust a Russian operative instead of pulling the trigger. Tired? She said finally. You saved 400 lives tonight. You stopped a terrorist attack. You captured a high-value target. I'd say you've earned some rest. Sarah looked at her. There's always another mission. Director Graves smiled, sad, knowing. There is, but not today. Today, you get to rest. That's an order, Section Chief. Yes, ma'am. The helicopter banked east, toward Langley, toward home. Below, St. Michael's Hospital continued its work. Patients were treated. Lives were saved. Doctors gave orders. Nurses followed them. And somewhere in the ICU, on the 3rd floor, a locker stood empty. Inside was a hospital ID badge, a stethoscope, a pair of comfortable shoes, the belongings of a humble nurse named Sarah Carter, who had never been humble, and had never been just a nurse. The silent badge she carried wasn't around her neck. It was buried in her soul, and it would be there until the day she died.